The US government has announced a pretty monumental agreement with some of the largest pharmaceutical manufacturers that will reduce the price of 10 prescription drugs under Medicare coverage. These 10 drugs, including blood thinners and diabetes treatment, are listed at very high full retail prices before any negotiated discount. And those negotiated discounts are significant. The expected savings for Medicare holders is on the scale of $1.5 billion out of pocket, and the savings in program spend is 4 times that. Longer term, the Congressional Budget Office projects $100 billion in government savings over a 10-year period. What makes this monumental has nothing to do with politics, but rather the fact this is the first time Medicare has been able to successfully negotiate prices with private stakeholders. And with that comes some questions about the net economic effect of all of this. Is the government overreaching into the private markets? Will patients fully realize the expected out-of-pocket savings? Will moral hazard outweigh the reduction in direct costs on how much the government spends on Medicare? Does this reduce the incentive for pharma to develop drugs offered by Medicare? And the answers to these questions will only play out over time. So let's see. Starbucks is shaking things up in the C-suite. The company announced the hiring of a new CEO, Brian Niccol, in hopes of addressing a business that's flatlining with customers pulling back their spending. Prior to this, Brian Niccol led significant periods of growth at both Taco Bell and Chipotle, pushing initiatives such as mobile ordering, equipment upgrades, and simplified menus. But the fundamental problem Starbucks is facing is their prices. It seems that they've finally reached the ceiling that customers are willing to pay for coffee and specialty drinks. The door is open for cheaper competition, and because of the pressure of fast service, mobile orders, and custom items, Starbucks as a sit-in leisure environment is less of a selling point. I don't know about y'all, but the last few times I've been to Starbucks, I've noticed some serious inconsistency with quality. And yeah, the price of their basic Americanos kind of pisses me off. So I'm not sure what to expect moving forward. Better deals, new menu items, improved quality, pumpkin spice latte year-round? I hope so. Inflation continues to improve according to the latest CPI print for July. Overall inflation came in at 2.9%, and core inflation, which takes out energy and food, posted 3.2%. That said, there's still some categories showing elevated price increases, things like food away from home, housing, and transportation services. On the other hand, you have one area that's actually in a period of deflation. That's the car market. And specifically used car prices. They're down almost 11% year over year. So why does this matter? Well, it's more evidence in support of a Fed rate cut in September. They're closer to their inflation goal. So now they're shifting their focus to the job market. And a rate cut would, in theory, slow some of the weakness we saw in the latest jobs report. Although it's great to hear inflation is coming down, there's still some sticking points. Housing prices won't move. Same with food. And the unfortunate truth is, improving inflation doesn't mean overall prices will come down. On a related note, 59% of Americans think we're in a recession, wrongly, according to CNBC. In a survey of 2,000 Americans, 3 in 5 believed we're in a recession right now, with inflation and the rising cost of living cited as the top reason why. After prices, friends and family members complaining about money was another big reason. But technically speaking, we're not in a recession, usually defined by 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth in real GDP. So was the survey just a bunch of people that don't know what they're talking about? Of course not. This highlights the very delicate situation we're in where macro-level metrics of the economy look good, but everyday people are still faced with high prices and high interest rates. The unaffordability of food, of housing, of debt has not gone away. So can you blame someone for thinking we're in a recession? People first care about the receipt they're handed, not that CPI came under 3%. Apparently all of our social security numbers were leaked into the ethers of the dark web. a data broker that deals in the buying and selling of our information, was the target of a hack some time ago. That broker's name is National Public Data, and they're now being faced with a lawsuit, which is what brought all of this stuff back into the spotlight. When I first saw this, I thought it was going to be Armageddon, but I'm here to relay the message that there's really no need to panic, according to cybersecurity experts. And the reason, this is actually kind of wild, our social security numbers are probably already out there from another data leak. Yeah, we've been compromised for several years. But really, experts have looked at the breached data set and determined it to be complete in some areas, inaccurate in others, with some legitimate information, although not enough to say how impactful it will be. So what can you do for now? Experts say keep an eye on your financial records for fraud and always use unique passwords with two-factor authentication. Is Google a monopoly? A U.S. judge says yes. It was recently ruled that Google monopolized search and the attached advertising business through the practice of paying companies like Apple billions of dollars to be the default search engine on their devices. If you enter something in Safari, Google gets handed that traffic. Now, of course, Google is going to appeal the decision, but let's say it's denied. What then? Well, the courts will determine remedies that reintroduce competition into the space. That could be requiring an obvious setting to choose your preferred search engine. It could restrict distribution contracts that involved those payments to Apple and others. Or it could even be breaking up Google. If that were to happen, I don't think it will, but if, we could see the separation of all the different services Google has acquired over the years. YouTube, Android, search functions, etc. The idea being to unwind the thread that has allowed Google to behave and price anti-competitively. All right, let's end it there, y'all. Hopefully you got some value out of this. If you like this type of video, like this video, and consider subscribing if you aren't already. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments or feel free to email me at askalexherrera@gmail.com. If you're interested in personal finance coaching to tackle anything from budgeting to financial goal setting to debt management, shoot me an email at alexherrera.fincoaching@gmail.com. As always, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care of yourself and best of luck.